I'm Christine, Paulette's niece, and I think everybody already knows who I am. And I just wanted to say that today we're here to pay our respects to Aunt Paulette, but I also wanted to say that it's a joyous day. It's really not a sad day because she's been reunited with Uncle Johnny, and I think we all believe that in our hearts. So she is dancing with Uncle Johnny again and with the angels. So we're here to celebrate the life and share our memories of Paulette Lawless. A reunion occurred in heaven this week of the sweetest and most joyful kind as Paulette's spirit moved beyond this earth, released from her mortal life. And what a reunion it must have been, a joy beyond our conceiving, when Paulette met Johnny in heaven again, ending years of dignified grieving. When we think of love, we often equate it to the young. However, if we're lucky, love can last a lifetime. Perhaps it is lifelong love that keeps some people so young at heart. Aunt Paulette was always young at heart. She was born in Paris, France on January 11th, 1921. She grew up in a Paris hospital with her parents and sister, where her father worked as an administrator. As a young woman, she lived amidst the distinctive fashions of the 20s, inspired by the French fashion designer Coco Chanel, and she also lived with the fear of World War II. Now, in between the I do's and the farewells, that's where this real love story begins. The saga, sometimes I don't say words right.
The stories.
Excuse me. Thank you. Of everyday miracles and madness, tucked between the demands of military service and life. The promise that even in death, a love and a life shared will not be forgotten. That's how it was for Aunt Paulette and Uncle Johnny. Just after the end of World War II and the celebration of the French people's freedom, Uncle Johnny and Aunt Paulette took their vows and were married in Paris on March 23rd, 1946. How romantic is that? They began their love story more than 65 years ago, and it's a story that will continue through eternity. It was in France during World War II where they first met one night when Uncle Johnny stopped in at a military dance hall and was first smitten by Aunt Paulette. Aunt Paulette was a petite and beautiful young woman. Uncle Johnny was a handsome young military man. He did not speak French and she did not speak English, but they just hit it off. After they were married, Uncle Johnny continued his career in the military service while Aunt Paulette worked as a seamstress. Life was good. They traveled the world and they danced. They lived commitment and devotion. And oh, by the way, Uncle Johnny did learn French. And over the years, Aunt Paulette learned English. Sort of. When I was a little girl, I always looked forward to when Uncle Johnny and Aunt Paulette came to visit. To me, it was like celebrities coming. I thought Aunt Paulette, being from Paris and with her French accent, was a movie star. Although they never had any children of her own, she had a special relationship with her little dogs, Coco, and later in years, Fifi. Those were her babies. And they certainly experienced the likes of parenthood through my brother and me, and in later years with my sister, Linda, my own children, and my cousins. I remember when I was quite small, I had snuck outside to play. With coat and hat on, I was discovered running through the sprinklers on our front lawn, but no pants. Literally, no pants. As Mom brought me in, Aunt Paulette, in her French accent and with broken English, says, "I help." Wiping my little rear end dry, she says, "I wipe you face. I wipe you face." To which my mother said, no, Paulette, that is not her face." I can only imagine she confused the English word cheeks with rear end. Several years later, here was a woman who was brave enough to cross an ocean and immigrate to a new country with her husband, and no other family to comfort her. My sister Linda spent a lot of time with Aunt Paulette, and although she could not be here today, she has sent some sentiments to share also. From Linda: I would like to start off with how sorry I am that I'm not able to attend the memorial of our Aunt Paulette. Please know that I'm there in heart and in prayers. Growing up and as an adult, it is so awesome to tell friends that I had a French aunt, not part French, but full-blooded, born and raised in France. I love to tell them my uncle met and married her during World War II and brought her home with him to live in the States. Aunt Paulette played a big part in my life when I started high school and had to choose a foreign language. It only seemed natural that I would take French. Of course, by this time in our lives, we had moved to Southern California, and Aunt Paulette was not close by. So needless to say, my French, well, not so good. I failed miserably twice. I always thought it was so cool when we would kiss her. The French way was one peck on both cheeks, and that was the way it was every time you saw her. If I had a dime for every time I heard her say, ooh la la, I would be a rich woman right now. A funny little word, but such a big part of who she was. Aunt Paulette will be missed, but she is in a better place now with her Lord and with her true love, Johnny. Au revoir is not goodbye, just simply till we meet again. Love you bunches, Linda. My own daughter, Michelle, also spent a lot of time with Aunt Paulette. And although Michelle is not here either, she also has thoughts she'd like to share. From Michelle. When I was a little girl, I recall spending weekends at Aunt Paulette's apartment. Believe it or not, it was her that taught me what to do in the event a bad guy breaks into your house by window. In each window, she had a can of aerosol hairspray. She told me that if they tried to come in the window, just take that spray and spray them in the eyes. I will always remember that can that sat up in the bathroom window. I always felt safe because of Aunt Paulette. Another fond memory I have is how I always looked forward to waking up at Aunt Paulette's on Saturday mornings. Every Saturday, we would catch the bus and ride it to Sambo's restaurant. While eating at Sambo's, she would help me color the color sheets and was always so happy when the restaurant would hang them up. After we left Sambo's, we would walk to Kmart. I don't recall what she would buy, probably makeup. But I know together we had lots of fun and laughter. Aunt Paulette was the first person to show me how to clean and make things sparkle. At a very young age, I felt like a big person when she would let me help her shine the silver. It amazed me how I could make it sparkle. I was the spoon's shiner. The sparkles and smiles that we shared are what I remember when I think of Aunt Paulette. I hope that this will be shared as my memories of special time with her. So French perfume, facial creams, and makeup. Those were important essentials to Aunt Paulette. Once when Mom and Dad were helping with a move, Dad picked up a large, very full bag to carry down the stairs. Out of curiosity, Dad asked Aunt Paulette, "What is in this bag?" To which she answered, "My makeup." Aunt Paulette and Uncle Johnny renewed their wedding vows to celebrate their 63rd anniversary in 2009, this time in a family home. With top hat for the occasion, sitting next to Aunt Paulette, when asked if he took her again as his bride, Uncle Johnny replied, "I do." Aunt Paulette, wearing a small white veil, tiny and frail, and by then suffering from Alzheimer's disease. When asked if she would again take Johnny as her husband, hesitated a moment, and then with a twinkle in her eye, she looks at Uncle Johnny and replies, "My Johnny, I do." I will always remember Aunt Paulette as my sweet little aunt from France. Her smile and laugh was contagious, and she had the cutest sense of humor. The simplest things would bring a smile to her face. Stuffed animals, an Elvis song, the mention of pie and coffee, a brightly colored blouse. She would often comment on the blouse I was wearing when I'd go to visit her. As much as I would have wanted to buy a matching top for her, the Goodwill labels are generally one of a kind. I think many of us may have looked upon Aunt Paulette as a child, but she was smart and intelligent. She knew the value of money and what it meant to save a dime, or more. Even the small pension check she received from her job as a seamstress. Even with her childlike ways, I will always think of her as a lady in every sense of the word. In later years before moving to Sunnyvale, Aunt Paulette could barely get around. Uncle Johnny did all the housework, the cooking, the cleaning, and the laundry. He bathed and dressed Aunt Paulette with love and tenderness. He treated her like a princess. To Aunt Paulette, Uncle Johnny was always my Johnny. And to Uncle Johnny, Aunt Paulette was always my city. So I am certain Johnny is still holding Paulette's hand while she cherishes each moment by his side, and they're experiencing the joy again, catching up on the years they were denied. We are confident they are also over us, hoping this happiness will lessen our pain as we contemplate the joy that they once again feel now that they are together again. And though we will miss them terribly through mourning and with grief, we are reminded that love is more powerful than death, and this knowledge gives comfort and peace. So you see, it's little things in the end that turn out to be the ribbons that tie the days and months and years together. The simple words in the end tell a love story. I can hear Uncle Johnny now. Do you remember the day we met, Miss Chérie? I know how much you mean to me. Do you know how much you mean to me? Let me help you with that. Take my hand. I'm here for you forever, through eternity. Let us all remember Aunt Paulette and the way that she touched our lives. Aunt Paulette, I just know you are dancing in heaven with Uncle Johnny, radiant in the light of our Lord. We will meet again someday, and perhaps we'll have some pie and coffee. We love you. Jesus pelus donyo un kala amantante. Jesus, please give my aunt a hug.